Hey there, selected one. There's a reason you're here. This is not an accident. Time is of the essence. There seems to be a major event happening behind the scenes. Even when there is complete stillness around you, your spirit may sense motion. You are not dreaming when you hear people calling your name in rooms you have never been to. Your energy is shaping opportunities. Powerful people are taking note of you, and doors are quietly opening where you hadn't even knocked. Heritage, not chance, is at work here. You were trained to persevere through times of solitude, which you endured through much silence, distrust, rejection, and neglect. Even people you've never met are starting to take notice of your vision, knowledge, insight, and intelligence. They can feel your warmth and presence even when you've never spoken a word. They perceive you even when they've never laid eyes on you. The instant you really grasp what's happening around your name, you will move differently, from a place of alignment, not anxiety. So let's break this revelation down into 7 powerful chapters. Please like, share, and subscribe before we begin, because this message is for the chosen ones who have been traveling quietly, developing in the shadows, and building something the world wasn't prepared to witness until now. Your fame is rising before you, and the darkness can no longer contain your radiance. Put 55 in the comments section if you feel this message speaks to you. It's divine confirmation that people in areas you've never been before are recognizing your brilliance. It's more than just a number. Those who are truly selected are the only ones who will be able to stay the course, and those who do will learn to trust one another, find their purpose, and have the courage to go into the places their name has already reserved. Whenever you feel self-doubt beginning to set in, return to this message because it will reveal a new facet of your brilliance. All right, let's begin. The feeling of being invisible used to keep you up at night, so let's talk about that first. You may have had periods when it appeared as though no one valued your contributions, enthusiasm, or abilities. Despite how cruel it felt just now, you weren't just ignored, you were hidden. As you watched, people's natural talents were acknowledged. While you saw mediocrity rise, your magnificence stayed in the background. Not because you lacked value, but because you were being shielded from harm. You are not here by accident. If you feel the pull, the knowing deep inside that you are chosen, this is your moment. Click the super thank you button and give $50 or more to unlock deeper insights, exclusive content, and a path that aligns with your divine purpose. This isn't just a contribution, it's a declaration, a step toward who you were meant to be. Answer the call, walk with us, and step fully into your destiny. Your journey begins now. There is a divine rationale for your secrecy. Like a guardian guarding a valuable treasure, God conceals that which He has not yet completed. Like a seed, you were buried deep in the earth. Everything was happening, even if it didn't appear like it was. As others sought the spotlight, you quietly worked on your art, studied patience, developed your character, gained spiritual insight, and perfected your craft. Your transformation was something you couldn't hasten. Your solitude was a sacred space for transformation. Your identity, your timing, and even your calling were all subject to periods of doubt. While others' doors swung open, yours remained firmly shut. You were unappreciated despite your hard work, loyalty, and regular attendance. The reality is that while other people were being watched, you were being protected. God created something unbreakable in you. Roots that extended deeper than anybody could perceive were holding you steady under the burden of the destiny you were destined to fulfill. In contrast to the world's obsession with instant gratification, Heaven values long-term effects. While others were putting on shows for the crowd's approval, you were being refined in paradise. You had a clear sense of mission, had trained in silence, and had no pride. There was a greater purpose behind each period of isolation, each setback, and each postponement. You were not ignored, but rather concealed on purpose, because your brilliance is too great to be wasted in the wrong places, your influence too great to be used by malicious individuals, and your voice too sacred to be drowned out by meaningless cheers. Being discovered too quickly could have caused you to doubt your authenticity, try to blend in, and sacrifice your worth. However, God kept you in the dark so that your roots could grow strong. Now that you're emerging, you're rising complete, not just elevated. Because you allowed yourself to be shaped in secret, the outcomes of your life will be undeniable. Because of this, people in places you have never visited before are hearing your name. This is why random people are talking about you. Along with your skill, they also notice your depth. People are taking notice of your authenticity and praising your genius at events to which you have not even been invited. No need to force it. Your name is as fast as lightning, yet your feet could never match it. Your character has already made a name for themselves before you ever reach that point. What happens is that you have divine approval before human approval. Even if they have never seen your face, they know what good food you create. Consequently, you should not feel bad about remaining hidden during certain times. Rather of being a kind of punishment, they served as a means of preservation for you. To the contrary, you were being built upon. You have always been chosen for this, and the world will see it confirmed by heaven. It may come as a surprise to you, but people have been quietly watching you, the chosen one, with respect, attention, and maybe even admiration. Some people have a lot of sway because of their platforms, authority, or influence. Without fanfare, praise, or approval from the general public, they have quietly taken note of what you have to say, read your mind, and observed your demeanor. Why? Given the rarity of the object you are transporting. Despite your belief in your own invisibility, you have unknowingly created quite an impression. Even when you were alone, your majesty echoed. They took note of your poise under fire, your ability to remain calm in the face of agitation, your humility in wisdom, and your skillful use of authority without resorting to manipulation. You stood silently by your fruits as everyone else shouted. Confidence is not something you display. Finding influence isn't your goal. You don't sugarcoat truth to make it more palatable. And in a culture that lives on visuals and commotion, your quiet says a lot. Your calm confidence stemming from profound spirituality is what sets you apart. It begs for respect without asking for it. And that kind of authenticity is impossible to fake. No matter how insignificant your message, conversation, or response to adversity was, it was recognized. Notes were taken. Your integrity, spiritual leadership, and reliability shone like a lighthouse. You may think no one is watching, but in reality, you've become a blueprint. Without you even realizing it or trying, people are talking about you in places you've never been. People in positions of power are raving about you, not because you forced your way in, but because you have become impossible to ignore. This is deliberate and orchestrated by a higher power. Keep in mind that David served quietly while others waited to be accepted, as mentioned in 1 Samuel 16. His fame, nevertheless, was resonating in royal courts even before he arrived. Saul has slain his thousands and David his tens of thousands. This chanting was used long before he ever wore a crown. It is you who has been selected. You have been observed, researched, and given special treatment. The fact that particular rooms bring up your name or that tables are prepared for you is not a coincidence. The divine precision with which you have carried yourself has garnered admiration from even those who failed to comprehend your calling. While some are taken aback, others are motivated, and all are making mental notes. You preferred to be followed rather than recognized. God is now boasting about how great you are for paying attention to the secret seasons. So, the doors were never really locked. They were only patiently waiting for you, the appropriate person, to knock on them. When doors open for you without your knocking, don't be surprised, second-guess yourself, or give up. Let's rethink what it means to be brilliant in light of the fact that society has tried to put a numerical value on it through the use of academic credentials. No amount of paperwork or designation was ever meant to stifle your genius. Your brilliance is in your mind's capacity to notice details that others overlook, find solutions to problems that go unnoticed, read between the lines, and understand non-verbal communication. Understanding wrapped around intuition is brilliance, in your view. It's the ability to create that changes, rather than just builds. That one word you can use to calm chaos, dispel doubt, and shift someone's entire viewpoint is quite remarkable. Whether it's in your leadership, business, creativity, capacity to care for others, spiritual insight, or your ability to see people intimately and bring life to their graves, you've been quietly displaying that brilliance for years. It was disregarded for quite some time due to its lack of volume. However, the key is that brilliant people are made to make an impact, not a racket. Despite the world's conditioning to desire noise, flash, and performance, you've always had a distinct style of movement. You never needed a spotlight or a stage to make an impression. Your work, personality, and spirit did the talking. If you feel the abundance of divine love filling your heart, now is the perfect time to share it. By clicking the super thank you button on YouTube and contributing $100 or more, you can help spread God's blessings far and wide. Your offering will not only touch your own life, but also reach countless souls through this platform. Each of you holds a sacred place in God's magnificent plan, and your generosity will be the answer to many prayers. Take action now. Share your blessings to honor His kingdom, for you were created to accomplish even greater works through His loving hands. May God's grace be with you. Now even the highest-ranking officials know this one is special. Even in places you've never set foot in, they're replaying your every word, studying your every action, and trying to figure out how you managed to notice things they missed. They're finding that your ideas, strategy, creativity, and spirit-led guidance come from a place of divine harmony, not only from instruction. It was never just a job, it was always an assignment. Even when you weren't speaking, you were prophesying. You weren't only building, you were giving life to a vision. Impact is far more durable than noise. You are a significant person, and while noisy people may get temporary attention, you leave a lasting impact. Making an impression isn't your goal. Leaving an imprint is. Just as Elijah had great hopes for God, so too did he come to him in a lowly, tiny voice. 1 Kings 19. That low rumble carried more power than the whole din that had preceded it. Being subtle, precise, and guided by your spirit is where your brilliance lies. When you relocate, everything changes because you're no longer aimless. Never allow yourself be fooled into thinking you're falling behind just because you're not very vocal. Your stillness has worked more than most people's shouting, and your depth has gone where surface-level performance has never been. Moreover, your silence has been more healing than 1,000 words. Your impact is increasing because of this. You embodied all of those qualities without faltering or rushing. You were faithful, steady, and real. Not because you battled for it, but because it's hard to deny your brilliance. Walk boldly in that. Elevation precedes acceptance, but not from man, but from heaven. This spiritual concept is often disregarded in this world. Dear Selected One, your heavenly reputation has gone before you. Before everybody else, God knew what was in your heart. Prior to your summoning, your soul had already entered the chamber. Here we see the difference between earthly fame and divine favor. The former may be bought, while the latter must be nurtured in the invisible sphere. You won't need to campaign, manipulate, or push open anything that has already been prepared for you. Proper doors are opening, not because you're yelling the loudest, but because your readiness, character, and quiet obedience have made a stir in the unseen realms. Your reputation was constructed by heaven while you stayed in the background. You were cleansed in seclusion, even though your spirit was sending forth genuine messages. You were on a quest for significance, while others were after power. As they touched up the photographs, you attended to the injuries. As they plotted for dominance, you let your pride and ego go along with everything else that didn't contribute to your mission. Instead of being introduced, people are now remembering you when it's your turn. Your name has been mentioned in passing in places you have never been before, including boardrooms, studios, ministries, foundations, brands, and collaborations. Someone has felt your energy and said your name with curiosity, respect, or intent, even if they don't necessarily know why. It's surreal. Spirituality, vitality, and magnetic traits, not your deeds, are what attract people to you. God often sends his chosen people to the desert before he puts them on a map. It seems that David, who was tending to sheep, was ignored, so Samuel was sent to anoint him. Even though he was the one heaven had previously named, nobody in the house paid him a second thought. By the time he made his public appearance, his divine reputation had already taken root. Rather than man's approval, God appointed him king. You were rescued. We did not overlook you. Your fate was saved from abandonment by being concealed until the right time came. The time has come when your name will be more important than any amount of promotion ever could be. Opportunities are popping up seemingly out of nowhere. People are drawn to your genuine self, and people are saying things like, "I don't know why, but I feel like you're supposed to be here," all because your divine reputation is working harder than your feet have. So, when you start to gain access to higher locations, don't be surprised. Keep going when people mention you in circles where you didn't think you belonged. There's no need to doubt your worth when you witness physical signs of heavenly harmony. Nothing about this is arbitrary. It's written. I mean, come on. We all picked one of those times when waiting seemed unbearable. You worried that nobody was paying attention to you and that everything you had gone through, recovery, growth, integrity, had been for nothing. Witnessing the ascent of others, some with more fervor, speed, and bravery, stung. "Oh my, what about me?" you begged. You weren't spiteful, you were just tired of waiting. Still, there was a lag after you had the vision, felt the call, and realized your incredible potential. What you couldn't perceive at the moment, though, is that the postponement was never a rejection, but rather a divine act of protection. Some of the places where people are talking about you weren't ready for you, and you weren't ready for them either. Without knowing how to protect yourself, you would have been swept away for your kindness, utilized for your skills, and taken advantage of because of your brightness. Had you entered certain circles too soon, you would have been too trusting, too generous, and too quick to settle. Because you waited, your goal stayed pure. You had plenty of time to ground yourself. In addition to natural ability, you now move with wisdom. You are not desperate for praise. Rather, you are acting on a cause. Authority has flourished because you have gained understanding, set boundaries, and healed parts of yourself that require approval. No longer do people attend rooms in the hopes of being recognized. Nowadays, people know who they are. Peace is the real flex, and you've lost the capacity to make other people happy. Now that you can see clearly, you can ignore distractions and stay grounded in reality. So, instead of just entering the room, you'll feel like you own it when the doors open. No matter how good you are, the vibe will be set by just being there. When to speak and when to be silent are both something you'll learn. Your intelligence, spirit, and spiritual force will no longer be hidden or excused. Anything you bring with you is entirely your responsibility. People now speak about you with respect, rather than obligation, pity, or favoritism whenever they bring your name up. They lift you up because they value your path and recognize your authenticity. Your reputation was obvious, and they can see the fruits of your consistency, even if many of them have never laid eyes on you. Success without preparation would have destroyed your character, integrity, intelligence, and inner strength. But God was strengthening all of these things while you waited. Rather of being chastised, you were empowered. And today, you are not just talented, but also ready. You were developed, not postponed. The next time you feel like you're falling behind, remind yourself of this. The right individuals were prepared to see you in your truest form. The scene was being prepared, and the timing couldn't have been better. With this newfound ability, you can face the light without letting it consume you. You are not here by accident. If you feel the pull, the knowing deep inside that you are chosen, this is your moment. Click the super thank you button and give $50 or more to unlock deeper insights, exclusive content, and a path that aligns with your divine purpose. This isn't just a contribution, it's a declaration, a step toward who you were meant to be. Answer the call, walk with us, and step fully into your destiny. Your journey begins now. Well, let's be honest, they notice you, chosen one. When you walk in, people can feel your energy and presence even if you don't say a word. Though many see your brilliance, not everyone are brave enough to tell you so. Some people secretly respect you because acknowledging your power would force them to confront their own anxieties. Some try to stifle your brilliance because they perceive what you have as sacred and immaterial. The signs will be obvious even if no one says "good job" or "I see you doing your thing." People start to wonder what you're thinking and subtly mimic your behavior and voice. As soon as you step foot in the room, people will start staring at you. Their tone will alter, or there will be uncomfortable pauses. It is awareness, not hubris, to be cognizant of this. You shouldn't allow the fact that you aren't well known discourage you. Think of it as proof that your level of functioning is deeper than what meets the eye. Silence, not popularity, is often the path to power, and you were meant to be powerful. Respected individuals are mentioned based on their worth, not their popularity. A person's influence has more weight than their visibility. What matters is not how you convey it or who you influence, but rather the impact it has, and the wise are aware of this. In the background, your most ardent fans are taking note, gaining insight, and finding motivation, while others are frightened, not because you've harmed them in any way, but because you highlight their own shortcomings. They may never publicly mention you, But that doesn't mean they'll ever like a post, comment, or tell you anything. No big deal. What happens when someone stays true to themselves, lives their mission, and doesn't back down can be seen in the changes in situations, the awakening of people, and the example you establish. It wasn't your intention to win anyone over. Keep quiet and act as if nobody is watching. Permit them to pretend that nobody is noticing your genius. It is irrelevant. Even in uncharted territory, your legacy lives on. Everyone is raving about your passion, dedication, and efforts. Sincere is aware of sincere, even while it remains silent. So, don't assume that you're not creating an impact because there is no sound. In fact, the opposite is true. Some folks are in rooms right now, rethinking their alternatives, shifting tactics, and rearranging plans because of you. Remain true to yourself, consistent, and driven. Respect exists even when words fail to convey it. There will inevitably come a moment when the room begs you to step up, when your name has been echoing in important places and your influence has been felt beyond your physical reach. Do not be bashful or second-guess yourself at this moment. The hushed murmurs are becoming into invitations. Selected one. From within, doors that were before indifferent to you are now opening. Your divine uniqueness, discipline, and growth are bringing the same people who neglected you full circle. Not because you pleaded for their attention. Get yourself mentally ready, since you can't afford to let your old worries become your new strengths. Being emotionally prepared is more important than being technically proficient, as your character will be tested more. Be mentally and spiritually prepared when the stage rises by keeping your feet firmly planted on the ground. From a practical standpoint, it is essential that you have your craft, job, and mission organized. Instead of being unprepared when the call comes, be ready now. Everything is going to fall into place soon. You'll know it was meant to be when, instead of rushing to get a seat at the table, they inquire about your whereabouts and exclaim, "We've been searching for someone just like you." No introduction or audition required. Your passion, hard work, and results will be evident. Heaven is preparing you for public success because you have already proven your merits in private. Someone will bring up your name in a meeting you didn't even go to, acknowledge your efforts, and give you credit for ideas you had no idea you contributed. The nicest thing is that you're now simply driven to achieve your goal and no longer care about being noticed, which makes you extremely dangerous. You no longer crave affirmation or attention. Consequently, answer the phone with assurance whenever it rings. Remain composed when the invitation is extended. When your platform rises, stand tall in the knowledge that you did not get there by imitating, cheating, or manipulating your way there. The world is finally catching up. Prepare yourself. Pick one. You're not being positioned for popularity, but for a specific purpose. All along, you were meant to be here.